Hello. So today we are going to talk about the plant spirits of the old Saxons. So how early Germanic farmers worked with living crops. So before modern agriculture, before crops became numbers and yields, the old Saxons believed something very different. They believed plants were alive in spirit, not symbols, not metaphors, but beings, living beings. So to the Saxons, a carrot, an apple tree, or a field of grain was never just food. It was shared land, inhabited by spirits they called Wīti. So what you need to understand is in Low Saxon, at least in Eastphalian Low Saxon that I speak, and in Old Saxon, the W is like the English W. It's not like the modern German V. So it would be pronounced Wīti. Or in English, modern English, they call it a white. So in Old Saxon belief, the world was animated. Animism, yeah? Land, water, trees, fields, all possessed awareness. Spirits were not distant gods, they were local, near, and personal. The Saxons called these beings wheat, or in English, a white. So a wheat was a living presence, not human, but not mindless either. Every farm had a field, every garden had them. They all had a wheat living in them, whether it was a garden wheat or a field wheat. So the field spirit, it would have been called Ackerwîht. So the fields themselves were protected by the Ackerwîht. Acker means field, as in acre in modern English, and wheat means a white or a spirit. So the Ackerwîht guarded grain, peas, beans, root crops, the soil itself. If farmers were careless, loud, or disrespectful, the Ackerwîht could withdraw its favor. A failed harvest was not an accident. It was a broken relationship with the Ackerwîht. So, then you have root vegetables. They were called Rōtwîht. Rōtwîht, so that means a root spirit. So root vegetables held special meaning. Carrots, turnips, beets grew hidden deep in the earth. The Saxons believed these plants were guided by a Rōtwîht. Rot, pronounced like the German Farbe rot, and then wheat is spirit, wheat. So Rōtwîht, root spirit, these spirits were quiet, old, and patient. Roots were never mocked for their shape, or because they were, some people would say, ugly and stuff like that. They were believed to be marked by the earth, the way they looked. And then we have vines and abundance. So to say, Rankewîht. So fast growing plants, vines and gourds, pumpkins, things like that. Kerbeses, pumpkins come from North America, but they had other things like these sea kerbese. So gourds, like these mini pumpkins that people use for decoration and Thanksgiving and sowas and all that. These little pumpkin things they had here in Europe. And they were believed to host growth spirits. So one name for these was Rankewîht. Ranka means vine. And then these spirits governed rapid growth, fertility, and overflowing harvest. A well-kept vine pleased the Rankewîht, and neglect caused it to wither. Then we have trees, fruit trees, orchards, So, Apalbōmwîht, yeah? Example, it's a Bōmwîht, a tree spirit. But then it would be the Obst, the fruit name. So, apple, the like English apple, spelled differently though. These are the most sacred plants of all. Fruit trees were believed to house long-lived spirits. An apple tree spirit was called an Apalbōmwîht. So apple is apple, boom is tree, and wheat is spirit. Yeah, apple trees were greeted like elders. Cutting one without apology was believed to bring sickness or misfortune to the household. And then we have the harvest spirit, yeah, Hērfestwîht. So at harvest time, all plant spirits were believed to withdraw and gather together. As the fields were cut, the life of the grain did not disappear. It fled into the last stalk standing. This presence was called the Hērfestwîf. So, Hērfestwîf, yeah, harvest woman. She was not a sky goddess. She was the living soul of the grain itself. The final stalk was known simply as the last corn. Das letzte Korn. So, reapers did not rush towards it. They slowed their work. They lowered their voices. In some places, they circled the last standing grain, careful not to frighten the spirit hiding within it, singing to Wōden and the last corn. As the final harvest approached, the reapers were said to sing while cutting the last grain. These were not work songs alone, they were sung to Wōden. Wōden was believed to move between worlds, riding his horse through field, forest, and spirit land. The reapers sang to call him near. They believed Wōden's horse, Sleipnir, or Sleipnir, as the Norse say, but in Saxon it was Sleipnir, would carry the spirit of the grain away. So he would come down and eat the last grain. But it was, a representation. He didn't really eat it. He took the spirit away with him. And so it would not die in the winter. And this is why the last corn was sometimes plated into a horse. It was much more made into a horse shape. They would take the last corn and make it into a horse shape, or they would just leave it laying in the field, in the empty field. And manchmal it was bound into a corn doll, like a grain doll. Sometimes it was carried home to the Bauernhof with a ceremony done. And the horse was not decorated. It was so to say, it was not decoration, this horse, when they made the horse shape from the grain. It was a vehicle for the spirit. By honoring Wōden and the Hērfestwîf together, the people believed the harvest would return again in spring. So the old Saxon, the harvest did not die when it was cut. It rode away in the last corn, carried by Wōden's Sleipnir, guarded by the Hērfestwîf until the return again with the new growing year. The land was alive and it remembered how it was treated. And yeah, so that's basically the best way I could describe it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Tschüss.